Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to configure a switch, at least the initial configuration that we're going to actually walk you through in this video. So let's get started. So as you can see here, I'm going to use Packet Tracer for demonstration purposes. As you can see, simulation program. So first I need to, as you can see, I can hover the mouse over the network devices or intermediary devices, and I'm going to go to the switch and drag and drop one switch right here. Okay, so I'm going to drag and drop one 2960 series switch, and then I'm going to drag and drop an end device or a host. Okay, so I click on the end devices. I'm going to choose a PC and drag and drop a PC right here. Okay, here we go. So so when you actually inbox the switch and put it in the rack, the first thing you need to do while you are in the data center, you need to configure the switch via the console cable, as you can see right here. So that's the console cable. It's plugged into the back of the switch on a port, okay, labeled console cable. So the console cable is also called a crossover cable. One side, it has the RG45 that goes to the console port on the switch, and the other side is either USB to serial connection or straight to the COM port or the RS232. It's also called DB9 connector. As you can see, it's serial connector. Or the most PCs nowadays, they don't have the COM port on the PCs. So you need a serial to USB converter, and we plug in the USB into the PC. After that, we need a program called a terminal emulator. It could be PuTTY, it could be TeraTerm, it could be Secure CRT. So I'm going to show you, for example, I'm using right here, I'm using Secure CRT, which is not for free, but you could use PuTTY or TeraTerm, which are free programs. So I'm going to launch Secure CRT just to get an idea of the terminal emulator. So as you can see here, that's the, let me close here, and then that's the terminal emulator program. As you can see, it's right here. So let me minimize this window, and that's my terminal emulator. So I can go here, for example, and then connect. I could actually use either serial, COM port 2, serial COM port 5, whatever, okay? You need to go to device manager and check what serial port you can use. For example, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go to, I can just go to File Explorer on my window here, and then I'm going to check for the, I'm going to go to this PC, and then Properties, okay, and then if I go to another window will pop up right here, okay, I go to Device Manager, and the Device Manager will open this window here. And as you can see here, if you have a console port connected, as you can see, it's called, okay, so I'm using the prolific USB to serial converter, and it's plugged on COM5, okay, port. So I need to specify that I'm using COM5 port on my Secure CRT, and then I can say connect, okay. So if I click, hit enter, then I'm gonna be on the switch. Since my switch is not turned on right now, so you get idea at least of what is the terminal emulator program. You could use PuTTY, it's for free, and TeraTerm as well. So to simulate the connection from the PC to the switch, what we're going to use here, we can use, let's connect the switch to the Fast Ethernet 01. This is Ethernet connection. Okay, So I'm using straight through because the devices are not the same, so straight through cable. And then I'm going to use a serial connection, okay, and connect it on the RS232. This is DB9 or serial connection to my console port on a switch labeled console, okay? And then if I go to the PC, and I need to go to desktop and then terminal. This is simulation of the terminal emulator, as you can see. And those are the default settings, okay? The bit per second need to be set to 9600, data bits 8, parity none, stop bits 1, and flow control need to be set to none. And I'm going to say OK. And then I'm thrown into the switch iOS. Notice that I'm in enable mode. So when I hit enter on the keyboard, I'm in enable mode. So you type enable, okay? And then I'm in the privilege mode, okay? So while I'm in the privilege mode, I need to go and actually hit question mark to see what are the available commands to me. So as you can see, I'm looking for configure, and since all the commands are alphabetically ordered, I need to look for commands that start with C, and then I'm going to type configure. I'm going to hit Control C and then configure, and then another question mark, okay, for help, and then terminal, configure terminal, and then I'm in the global configuration mode, okay? So the first thing you want to do for the switch configuration, we need to give it a name, right? So names, actually, I would prefer to use capital letters, okay? For the name, for example, we could say SW1 for the name. If this switch, for example, it's in floor number 1 or floor number 2, take care of the floor number 1, or for the engineering group or whatever, you could give it some meaningful name, and then I'm gonna hit enter, and notice that the host name changed immediately on the switch. After configuring the host name, we need to actually skewer the privilege mode. Okay, secure the privilege mode. And to secure the privilege mode, we can actually type enable, okay? And then as you can see, either password or secret. So enable password means you're gonna put an encrypted password. And since we have two options, so we need to go with, okay, encrypted password. Enable secret followed by a password, for example, Cisco123, okay? And if you include the space right here, so your password will be Cisco123 and then the space. So make sure you configure the correct password, and you need to remember this password. Otherwise, you are gonna lock yourself, okay? Yeah, and you need to do password recovery for the switch, okay, and so on and so forth. So configuring the enable secret, that's the second step. And then we need to secure also, so we secure the enable, we secure the privilege mode. I'm going to show you something. So now if I exit right here and then do enable, notice that it's asking me for a password. Okay, so I'm going to type my password that I have entered with enable secret password, and then I need to go back to the global configuration mode. Now what we need to do, we need to secure the line VTY from 0 to 15. Let me explain the line VTY. So VTY stands for virtual teletype, which is the connection, the remote connection, either via telnet or SSH to the switch or router or whatever Cisco device, okay? So as you can see, we have 0 to 15, which means we have 16 sessions. In other words, 16 users, they can actually connect simultaneously to the same device and do the configuration, okay? And that's VTY lines, okay? And VTY lines are the, telnet and SSH connection to the switch. So when you configure it, okay? When you configure the switch, you can actually telnet or SSH to it from your office, and then you can actually change things and change configuration. Now we need to actually include one command here. As you can see here, login, okay, and it's enable password checking. So if you don't include the login keyword here, you are the switch wouldn't ask you for a password when somebody tries SSH or telnet. So we need to type login, and then we need to type the password. So I'm going to use the same password, Cisco123, which is the most secure password in the world. Okay, here we go. And then after that, we can actually jump to the line console. So we need to secure line console as well. So, okay, we need to secure line console, and line console, we have only one line console, as you can see right here. So we have only one line console, which is the port that is labeled console, okay? It's called console 0. And then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to enable the login, and then I'm going to set a password on the line console. Cisco123. And that's it. So we secure the privilege mode. We secure the line VTY using SSH and telnet, and we secure the line console. If somebody goes to the data center and have access, physical access to the switch, he can plug console cable. He will be asked for a password in order to log in to the switch. Okay, so after that, what we need to do, we can actually type exit. Okay, to go back to the privilege mode. After configuring the line console and line password, and also the VTY password. So I'm going to show you something here. So you shall run. I include the do because I'm not in write mode. So if I just try to show run in here, it's not going to work. It's going to give me invalid input detected at, okay, and giving me the show. Okay, this is not the right place to actually use the show commands. So I need to go to privilege mode, okay, and then do show run. This will show me the running configuration, as you can see. So the host name that we configured, the enable secret, and encrypted password is encrypted as type 5, okay. And if I scroll a little bit down, okay, to the end, I can see that I configured line console with a password, and I enable password checking right there, okay. But notice that the passwords are in clear text, okay. Yeah, so we need to secure that as well. I'm going to go to global configuration mode, and there is one command. It's called service password encryption. Service password encryption. What it will do, it will actually encrypt those passwords here that are in clear text in type 7 encryption. So if there is somebody behind your shoulder, actually wouldn't actually figure out the password, okay. So now if I do show run, okay, so I need to include the do because I'm not in write mode, as I mentioned earlier. And if I scroll down a little bit, as you can see, those passwords are encrypted with type 7 encryption. So at least if somebody behind your shoulder, he wouldn't actually remember this password. Yeah, but it's more easier for him to remember the Cisco 123, right? So this is actually kind of, you know, hardening this type of password with service password encryption, okay. You could also put an access list. I'm not going to dig deeper into the access lists and stuff. So this is just basic configuration, how to basically configure the initial configuration and give a switch an IP address so you could log in to it remotely from your office, and you could do the other configurations. So we need to be under the interface mode. So I'm going to type interface VLAN, okay, 1. Okay, we have only, this is a low end switch or layer 2 switch. We're going to talk about layers later on. in this course. So interface VLAN 1, okay, which is the only interface that we configure an IP address on, and I'm going to say IP address, okay, and then let's give the switch 192.168.1.1.1, for example, or let's say .2, okay, and then /24 mask, okay, and then no shutdown. So whenever you configure an IP address on a device, you need to bring the interface up with no shutdown. And also I mentioned that no would negate every command. So if you want to actually take out the IP address, you would include no IP address, then the IP address will be deleted. Okay, so that's why we use no and then shutdown. Shutdown means bring the interface down. No shut will bring the interface up. And as you can see, we get a message from the switch saying that VLAN interface is changed to up and it's running right now. Okay, then after that, we need to tell the switch what default gateway we are using. That's a router. Notice that I'm not using any router right here. I can use the router for as a gateway. So I'm going to type the IP default and global configuration mode default gateway, and then let's give it an IP from the same subnet 192.168.1.1, for example. Okay, that's the default gateway. So yeah, after that, what we need to do, we need to go to line VTY 0 to 15, okay, and then we could actually specify the transport input, means what protocol we're going to use for the transport input for the incoming sessions. So transport input, I'm going to hit question mark here, and then as you can see, we can use all protocols. We can use none, or we can use SSH and telnet. Okay, so whenever possible, use SSH because it actually encrypts. Okay, it encrypts all communication between your device, between your PC and the switch. Okay, telnet actually sends everything over the wire as a clear text. So if there is man in the middle attack, he would grab your username and password. So whenever it's possible, use SSH rather than using telnet. For now, I'm going to actually specify all. Okay, this is just for demonstration purposes. And then I'm actually good to go. So I can actually telnet to the switch from my host. Okay, so we have done the necessary configuration. I'm just going to mention, you could add, for example, let's say the banner. Okay, could add a banner, for example, let's say banner, and to use the banner we need to start with the same character, for example $, and then please, let's say something, please do not log in. This is only for authorized, for example, authorized, okay, users. And then we need to end up with the same character like this, and this will be the login invalid input, so it's not accepting this. So I'm going to use something like, let me hit Control A to go to the beginning of the line. And then I'm going to use, so it's complaining about the, let's start with pound symbol and then end up with a pound symbol right here, okay? For the banner, here we go. It's still telling me the pound symbol is not accepted because this is a packet tracer. I'm going to use C character, okay? And then I'm going to use C at the beginning of the line. So start with a character and then end up with the same character. Banner, oh, banner MOTD actually. Yeah, let's use this one here. Then I'm going to use the, I'm missing Control A. I think I'm missing the banner MOTD, message of the day. That's what I'm missing right here, okay? And then enter, okay? So, So to wrap up things that we have done so far, we actually configured. Okay, let me do show run. Okay, do show run in configuration. So I'm gonna let me make this window a little bit. Okay, make it big a little bit. Notice that we have configured the host name. We set up the a encrypted password, okay, for the privilege access. We also configured the VLAN interface. As you can see, interface VLAN 1 with an IP address. This is for remote management, for accessing the switch remotely. Okay, this is also IP default gateway. Okay, so we need to teach the switch what default gateway he's going to use, because we're going to actually log into it remotely. And then we have secured the line console with a password, and we enable password check-in. Also, we done the same for the VTY lines from 0 to 15. As you can see, we set a password and we enable password check-in on this switch. At this point, what I need to do, okay, and this actually it's very important, we need to copy running config. Okay, we need to copy running config. Notice that it's not accepting the copy, not completing the command for me. So if I use command completion and didn't complete the command for you, which means you are not in the right mode. Okay, either you could include do if you are in global config, or you could just simply copy running in privilege mode. Copy running config. This is actually the configuration on the RAM, on the random access memory. We want to actually save it to startup config, okay, which is the NVRAM, or known volatile memory. Okay, and then notice that is asking me for destination file name. I'm going to go with the default startup config, and then here we go, we saved our configuration, okay, to the startup config. If I do show, for example, shoulder, okay, show flash, let's say show flash, for example, and as you can see, we have the config.txt where the startup config actually is saved. So when the switch reboots, it will actually go to the config.txt and read the configuration that we actually configure on this switch. So yeah, let me actually close this window. I'm gonna just show you how to actually use telnet. So I'm gonna go, and instead of using the let's go and use telnet here. So I'm gonna use telnet to 192.168.1.2. It's trying from the switch. So this way you can actually connect via telnet from your PC, right? So yeah. So probably it's not accepting telnet for some reason. So telnet, we set up the password for VTY. Let's do it again, telnet, and then yeah, let's just hit the up arrow, and then it's trying, says it's trying, but there is nothing there. Okay, yeah, probably I need to add a router in here. So let me drag and drop a default gateway in here. Okay, so I'm gonna use this one as my default gateway, and then I'm gonna connect the switch with gig00 on the router to gig01 on the switch, and then let's go to the router. The configuration on the router or switch are the same, so I'm going to say no. Okay, I'm going to say no here, and then enable config terminal. Then interface, let's say gig0/0 on the router, and the IP address 192.168.1.1 with mask of /24, and now shut down and do write man. This is the another command which is the same as the copy run config to startup config. It's the abbreviation of the command do write do write memory, okay, and we can abbreviate it as WR, okay, and here we go. So in this course we're going to learn a lot of shortcuts to use, and okay, and yeah, so I think that's it. We configure the router. As you can see, everything is blinking in green, which means life is good and the connection is okay. Let's go back to the PC and try to telnet the switch. The switch is not actually allowing me to telnet for some reason. It's not responding. Yeah, sorry. I need to configure the PC with an IP address, of course. Yeah. So 192.168.1. Let's say okay, we configured .1.3 on this PC here. He needs to be on the same subnet, and then we need to tell him what default gateway we're going to use, .1.1, and that's it. So here we go. And now I'm pretty sure we can telnet this switch. Open, and it's asking me for password 123. And then I'm in the switch. Enable, it's asking me for password, so this is the privileged password that we set, Cisco 123, and then I'm in a privileged mode. To go to global config, we could type configure terminal, and then I'm in a global configuration mode. So I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing.